Hi and welcome to the Automotive Recyclers Experience. My name is Chris Douglas and I'm an ex-automotive recycler who now creates products and services that help businesses, automotive recyclers all around the world save time and make more money. Join me as I provide tips and tricks to help grow your business, along with interviews with specialists and successful entrepreneurs. We'll explore innovation, inspiration, and the actions you can take right now, today, to supercharge your automotive recycling business. Now let's get right into this week's episode of the Automotive Recyclers Experience. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to the Automotive Recyclers Experience. My name's Chris Douglas, as you heard, and we've got a really interesting session today. Different, interesting, really important. So we're talking about well-being, the well-being of ourselves, firstly, the well-being of our people within our organization, and the effect, I suppose, that can have on both personal lives, on their lives, on our lives, and also on the business. There's certainly a lot there to be said. Recently, over recent years, we've had a number of challenges, obviously with COVID and so forth. That has brought both challenges and opportunities. There's been increased awareness around this area, and I think it's something that we really should be focusing on in this automotive recycling industry, and something that I really it's sort of close to me. I mean, I've struggled sometimes with some of the some of these mental health challenges where you struggle, you've got the world on your shoulders and so forth. So I think it's important that we're fairly open with that and we talk about these things. And to help me with this discussion today, I've asked Clare Rainwater to be part of this session because she does a lot in this area. And we know Clare from attending some of the conferences, and of course, her not so better half, Rob, does a lot of the talks and so forth. But I met Clare a couple of years ago, and I know she's been doing a heap around mental health, around meditation, around yoga, a lot with kids. And I thought, what better way to sort of talk about this than have someone like Clare on. So Clare, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. So Claire, before we jump into it, I follow you on Facebook and Instagram and so on, and I see a lot of what you do on a daily basis. But for those that don't don't know much about Claire, tell us a little bit about Claire. What's your background and how did you get into this area of mental wellness, if I can call it that?
Yes, absolutely. So, Rob and I, first of all, your viewers, as you say, they know Rob. We have a blended family. We have 8 children together and 2 grandchildren. And again, speaking of mental health and just life in general, blending families isn't always so easy. So, dealing with those challenges.
Yeah.
I was a teacher, an elementary teacher for 34 years. And I'm also an author. I wrote a children's book.
Oh, wow.
But in the last few years, I have been a yoga instructor. After I retired, I decided to teach yoga. And the funny thing is, throughout my entire life, I was always into well-being. I always had some sort of workout plan, aerobics, Les Mills, any cardio, walking. And I used to sprinkle yoga in throughout my life, but I was never really into it. I never bought into it. I really didn't. I remember being in a yoga class years ago and them saying, breathe, remember to breathe. And I'd be like, yep, I'm breathing. So I never fully understood and I didn't grab the goodness of yoga until I'm going to say it's maybe 6 years ago. I was diagnosed with adhesive capsulitis, which is frozen shoulder. I don't know. Do you know a frozen shoulder?
I can tell you now that I was at the osteopath yesterday because my shoulder is really sore, and he's doing a whole heap of acupuncture stuff there, and suction
Yes.
stuff, all of that stuff. But no, a frozen shoulder,
Cupping?
exactly no. Yeah, like all the cupping happening, so I've got all these bruises on my back now, but it was fun.
So, in case your listeners don't know, frozen shoulder is an autoimmune. And you have it for about 6 months. 6 months of the freezing, and then another 6 months it's frozen. So I would say a year or more, you have frozen shoulder.
So
And
you
I've
can't
said to
move the
people,
shoulder.
you can't move your shoulder. So beforehand, before it freezes, the pain is unbearable. So I would describe it to my family like, imagine if you had a cymbal and you hit the cymbal and the cymbal resonates till it stops. When I would move my shoulder, my entire arm would be like, ooh, and I'd have to just breathe until that pain stopped. It was unbearable pain. It literally would take me to my knees.
Wow.
And then once it froze, I couldn't touch my nose. I couldn't dress myself. I fell into a deep depression. I had to take time off from work. I never took time off from work in my 34 years except to have kids. I mean, there was one day Rob came home and I was, honest to God, on the bathroom floor in tears. I couldn't even get undressed. It was horrible. So I tried physical therapy. I tried acupuncture. I tried the cupping, steroid shots, and nothing was helping me. And I just felt like I was falling deeper and deeper. And then one day I was watching, something came across my Instagram, some yoga. And I tuned in every Wednesday. This woman was doing yoga. And obviously, I could not do any poses. There's no way I could do any poses. But she'd start off, if your viewers know at yoga at all, the beginning of yoga is just slowing down, breathing, and being aware of your thoughts. And that's where I started. And for weeks, for months, that's all I could do. And in time, I began to heal. And I always say that yoga saved me.
Wow.
And now, as I look back on it, I believe it was acceptance. Yoga is so much more than poses. Yoga teaches you to connect with yourself. And once I feel I was able to accept, like, yep, this shoulder is horrible and I can't move it, I could accept it instead of being angry and tense. Slowly, my body started to heal.
That's incredible. So
Yeah.
this is really, really foreign, right? This is, I mean, I come from the automotive recycling, parts, motor vehicle industry. I've worked in it all my life. I've had some exposure, not necessarily to yoga, but more so to sort of some meditation. You know, I've done a little bit of that over the years. I should do a lot more of it because it's amazing. And really, for those that haven't done it, it's hard to explain. It's hard to explain. It seems a little bit, it seems really foreign, right? It seems like, oh, that's crazy stuff. But the reality is
Mm-hmm.
that it really works. So again, automotive recycling, we're a fairly macho type of industry. And now what I'm really happy about is that there are a lot more um, females that are part of the industry now, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
think that's mellowed some of the males down a little bit because it brings a different perspective in. But certainly, it is still foreign. So a lot of our listeners are going to be listening to this and saying, "How does this relate to me? Yoga? Am I really going to do yoga? I'm a mechanic. I like getting my hands dirty. I like, going to the gym and pumping weights and all that type of stuff. Is yoga really for me?" So tell me a little bit about how I'm sure you have these discussions with people over dinner, for example, and the question probably comes up all the time, but how do you talk people into at least trying it?
So I
Actually,
think
why
the way,
don't you use Rob? Why don't you use Rob as an example? Probably not a good example.
do I have to?
No, not really.
No, I have to say, Rob has come a long way. Do I wish that he would do it more often and practice with me? I do. However, he does get down on the mat. He does begin our days many times together, taking it slow and just breathing. So he's come a long way. Thank
Excellent.
goodness.
Good.
Yeah. So I think the way I try to persuade people is letting them know how much better I feel.
Yeah.
I just can't explain. I feel like I have a new lease on life. I feel more alive. I feel more alive. So it may be hard to be specific as to how, but let me think of an example here. So I guess the best example I could give, and what I have said quite often, is if you play golf or you play tennis or you restore cars, you spend time on those things, right? You have to set aside time on a Saturday to work on that car. You
Yeah.
have to set time aside to analyze your golf swing to get better at your game, tennis, whatever it is. If you want to play the guitar, whatever the case. So, if you want to feel better, the best way to do it is to slow down and be aware of your body. It, in some ways, it's foreign, and in some ways, I think, how can
It's
we
so
not
logical.
know that?
It's so
Yes,
logical.
it's like, how can it not have been put out there in school for us at the beginning?
Yeah.
Take time to go slowly, listen to your body. What are your thoughts telling you? It's so obvious that if we listen to our body and our mind, we're going to get better. We're going to feel better because we're going to listen.
Yeah. No, it's really comes down to the basics, doesn't it? And at the end of the day, I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking myself, like there's a lot of things that I know I need to be doing. I'm sitting at this desk a lot of the time, and as you know, I was on a call before this call, and it was at 6 a.m. my time and 4 p.m. I think New York time, where that client was. And then at night times, I'm doing a lot of work in the UK. During the day, I've got Australia and New Zealand that I'm working with. So I'm often here, and I try and usually during the day get out for a bit of a walk, and I haven't done it for about a week now. And I try and do a 4 or 5K walk, spend an hour or so walking a little bit, put my
Now,
headphones
Chris,
on, and
are you able to get up, move your arms, move your waist? Are you
of,
able to do that in the course of
of
your
course,
day?
yes, I certainly am able to. Do I? That's another story. So,
Yeah.
but they're the basic things, right? There's no doubt about it. It's like I should drink more water, but I don't
Yes.
necessarily drink as much water as I should, right? But it's there. It's right.
Exactly.
Here. It's here.
It's
So
a
there's no
practice.
reason
That's
why I
why they call
shouldn't.
it a practice.
Sorry?
That's why they call it a practice, right? Life is a practice. You have to practice every day, whether it's getting down and stretching, drinking water, eating your vegetables. It's a practice, and we're
Yeah.
human, and we always mess up.
Yeah. And so the practice is something I want to focus on here for a second, because a lot of our listeners are business owners, automotive recyclers, employees of their businesses. Um, and you said it before, whether we play golf or tennis or guitar or whatever the case is, we're good at something if we spend time practicing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Your business, for those that are listening, your business is good depending on how much you put into it, how much effort you put into it. Do you track the numbers? Do you understand the numbers? Do you know which vehicles to buy? Do you know what parts to dismantle? All of that
That's
stuff.
right. You're checking your data. You're checking your
Yeah.
data all the time.
So we should come back to basics sometimes and look at ourselves and say, hold on, the most important business we have in anything here is this business,
Absolutely.
right? And I'm as guilty as anyone. I'm as guilty as anyone. And we do need to focus on ourselves first and foremost, and then the people
Mm-hmm.
around us as a secondary thing. I don't mean that in a bad way, but we need to think about ourselves first. Otherwise, we fall apart. We're no good for anyone, right? So I think that's really important. So that increased awareness of the importance of mental well-being or mental health, whatever, I don't know what the right term is for it, but anyway, the work-life balance, understanding and being aware of that helps us as individuals, but also helps us and our to work with our teams to make sure that they've got what they need. Yeah.
Right.
So I want that to be a key takeaway for everyone here today. I don't have to teach you that. Claire doesn't have to teach you. That's something we need to teach ourselves. And that is that take some time, take a breath, go for a walk if you need to go for a walk. If you're at work and you work in an automotive recycling facility, I get it. That may not be in the most beautiful part of the world, but maybe at lunchtime, rather than just getting I don't know, a hamburger and a pie and some fries, maybe it's worth grabbing a sandwich and going for a bit of a walk and spending some
I
time
have
with yourself.
right.
So,
So, there are so many levels of yoga, and some of it, I know that some people would say it's woohoo, like, they might think it's a little bit out there,
yeah.
but there are basic things you can do that will help you throughout your day. For example, if we wake up in the morning, and I would guarantee that almost everyone listening grabs their phone first. And yeah. And I do too sometimes. I'm trying to move it over and not pick it up right away. Because they say, like, you wouldn't invite 100 people in your bedroom when you first wake up, right? And you're bringing in all this stuff and lots of drama. It's not good for you. So one of my suggestions for your listeners is to start a new morning routine. When you first wake up, obviously you should have that glass of water there. First thing you should take in is a glass of water. I do that every morning. I have my water waiting. And don't touch the phone. Take a moment to think about whether you're going to get on a yoga mat or do any exercise, even if you just sit on the edge of your bed and think about, how do I want my day to go today? And quite often, on some days, we want to be full of energy. Some days we're like, God, I have a lot I have to get done. So maybe your intention would be to focus. On another day, you may want to take it slow. Maybe you're not feeling so good and your intention is just to get through the day. Whatever it is, take a few moments sitting on your bed with your glass of water, just thinking about the day ahead and thinking, how do I want this day to be? If you come up with a word to describe how you want your day to be, quite often, and again, this is a practice, I do this, but it doesn't always work. Sometimes the day takes me away. But if you think about a word, you want to have strength. You can, repeat the word in your head. I want strength. I am strong. I am capable. I need to be focused. And if you repeat that throughout the day, as silly as it sounds, it really does help. There are times I take a little sticky note and I might stick it on my computer and see it there and be like, oh, I am focused. Because you know what happens? Sometimes you get carried away with your phone or with the dog or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I got to be focused. I got to be focused. So
Yeah.
those little reminders for humans are very important.
And look, I think that sticky note one is something that will resonate with the audience, right? And
Yes.
when Rob has a bit of a listen to this, he's going to say, I used to do that. I can guarantee you he used to do that with his sales teams. He used to put a sticky note on their screen every day of their target.
Yeah.
I want you to sell $20,000 worth of parts today.
Right. And I want you to be healthy.
There you go. What's more important?
That's right.
Well, if we're not healthy, we can't sell the $20,000 worth of parts, right? And certainly,
Can't do
um,
anything.
moving to that then. So again, I think that's a nice, parallel there, right? So that this industry has traditionally done those types of things. They put the sticky note on the screen. Why? Because I want that salesperson to know that their target is 20,000 today. Because they did this many quotes yesterday and they've got this many work orders sitting there waiting to go, blah, 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 blah. There's your target for today. So it's not a foreign idea. It's just a foreign application of the idea, right?
Right.
But it shouldn't be so foreign because we are we're the protagonists in this game, right? Each of us in our own lives are the protagonists. So we shouldn't feel like we're an extra on the TV set, right? On the show. So, and
Right.
again, I'm talking and I'm thinking, my wife's going to see this, and my daughter's going to see this, and my son's going to see, and they're going to say, Dad, you need to do all those things that you're saying. You're saying things, but you're not doing them. And they're right, because we all fall into the trap of the day-to-day, call it monotony slash program
The,
standard
the
thing.
autopilot.
Autopilot,
The
absolutely.
autopilot. We just keep rolling.
Yeah,
That's why slowing down and meditating, or maybe you don't even meditate. Maybe you just sit at the edge of your bed when you wake up for a few minutes, focus on what you want your day to be. And then maybe at lunchtime, you just do the same. how is my day going? You reflect on how you've taken care of yourself. Are you still headed towards the path of whatever you set out for when you were sitting on your bed? So just those few moments. And I feel as though when you take a few moments, even a minute or two, to just breathe, your entire body gets to relax. And believe it or not, your brain is clearer,
Yeah.
right? If you take a few moments, no phone, no computer screens, just to sit and breathe for a minute, you will be clearer. I know your listeners will be like, that's crazy, but it's
No, it's not
true.
crazy. I look, I don't practice it enough, but when I say take time to breathe, if I meditate, if I do some form of meditation, I'm not sure if it's good or bad. It's just what I know as meditation, where I feel that my mind, yes, I can still feel, I can hear these, not hear, I'm thinking of different things are coming into my mind, but I'm trying to just flush them out and just move them on. And I seem to get into this. Uh, I'm awake, but I'm clear-minded. If I can, I don't know how to put it any other way, right? And
Mhm.
certainly, once I get up, I usually do that sitting down, either on the side of the bed or on my chair here, or whatever the case is. Um, I'm so much more clear-minded. There is no doubt about it. It's like ideas are more work better. Things
Yes.
just happen.
Yes, you're more
Um,
precise. Your brain is more precise.
yeah, I
And
don't know what it is.
I want to make it clear that quite often when I say to people you should meditate, they say, "Oh, I can't clear my mind." And it's not about clearing the mind. Everyone has crazy thoughts, and in yoga with my kids, we say that's your monkey mind, right? It's your monkey mind. Woo, you're all over the place. Your monkey mind. You want to settle it down. And it's totally normal. The idea is to notice the thoughts, acknowledge the thoughts, and actually think, well, that's just a thought. We all have stresses in our lives. We have stresses within our families. We have stresses on the job. We have stresses in this crazy world when you put the news on. So we have a million things going on in our minds, but they're just thoughts. And I think I've realized since I've become really absorbed into yoga, that I'm still okay, even if my thoughts are running wild. If I acknowledge, like, yep, that's just a thought. For example, we have lots of kids, and I know you can relate to this. If one of the kids is driving to Boston and I don't hear from them,
Oh,
right? They're supposed to call it, 7 o'clock, and now it's 9 o'clock, and they're not answering their phone. And now here's that monkey mind. Here's that monkey mind. I have every crazy thought in my head that something horrible has happened to them. And again, yoga has helped me. It doesn't work 100% all the time, but yoga has helped me to make me say, that's just a thought. And then I change it into the positive. I have faith in my son, John, or whoever it is. I have faith in John. I have faith in the universe. So instead of that crazy worry coming in, I
yeah,
change my thought to, I have faith in him.
yeah.
Everything is fine.
Interesting. Very interesting, actually, because again, one of the challenges I've had in the past is these thoughts would come into my mind, and I'd think worst case, right?
Oh,
I'd think whether it was a work thought or personal, whatever, kids, whatever the case is, the standard thing is to catastrophize, right? You think, oh my God,
absolutely.
it's going to be a disaster. It's the worst thing that, and we know 99.99% of the time, it's not that at all. And that clouds, again, I want to bring this back to now the audience and what they do on a daily basis. That clouds your judgment. It clouds your decision making. It actually makes you less efficient in anything that you're doing, whether it's in your personal life or in your work life. It kills your creativity. It kills your productivity, all of that stuff,
Yes.
because you're thinking this
Because you're
crazy
stuck
stuff
in your
out there.
mind. You're
Yeah.
stuck in your mind. Yeah, you got to
So
come
it's
out of
it's
your mind.
certainly worth thinking about, and from the automotive recyclers perspective, our audience's perspective, let's look at it now on how a clear mind and a healthy mind can help. and not only a healthy mind, but a healthy body as well, could help business, right? Because there are so many studies out there, and I've got some notes here that I made yesterday on it, but it's been proven that, and sorry, I'm going to read a little bit off the notes here, but number one, increased productivity, right? So employees' mental health, if it's prioritized, you're going to get more productivity out of your people, right? There's more job satisfaction, more engagement, more motivation, etc., etc. Reduced absenteeism. I mean, I look at the Auto Recyclers Facebook forum that they've got over in the US there, and so many people are posting stuff on there about people not turning up for work, right? Um, well, yes, it is a bit of a sign of the level of work ethic, but maybe we need to take some responsibility for that as well, and maybe it's how we can make it different, right? Now, I'm not saying I'm any better or worse than anyone. I look at the team that we've been building over the last three or so years with my team in the Philippines. And we've got now 116 people there, and we've got our team leaders that do their thing. Um, they are, and we try and support them as much as possible with their work-life balance. But, they wanted to do some team building exercises. And it's hard for me to be there all the time or to be there for all the team building and whatever they want to do. So the team leaders take it upon themselves. So our eBay listing team, probably about 2 weeks ago, went away for a weekend, right? And we funded it, and we did what we did there to make it possible. But they played games, they took photos, they sent us a video clip of all of it together, and it was amazing. It was really, really amazing. Now, I look at the last 2 weeks, and this is not why we did it, but I just looked at the last 2 weeks when I was looking at some of the stats around productivity, and what it was saying about, when people have their mental health in a good spot, their productivity increases. Well, their productivity has increased by about 20% over the last 2 weeks. Why? We haven't
Wow.
done anything differently. It's
Mhm,
because they felt part of something. They were more engaged, right? Our
mhm.
absenteeism is as close to zero as you're going to get, right? And it's because they feel like they're part of a team. They're engaged in what they do. They're valued for what they do, and so on. So these types of things are big. I remember David Gold at Standard Auto Recyclers in Canada, in Toronto there. I visited him probably about 10 years ago with some others from Australia, and he was showing us through his facility. And one thing that resonates is that of the 50 or 60 people that worked in his business, not only did he know everyone's name, as he walked past them, he asked them how their day was. How's Johnny going? Their son. He remembered Johnny's name. Has your wife had the baby yet? No, she hasn't. I mean, these types of details are really, really important to our
Genuine
people.
interest.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
100%. So these are the things that make people feel good, make people feel engaged, make people feel like they're part of something. And I
Chris,
think,
I can relate that to being a teacher in a classroom, right?
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
the same thing. Teaching a bunch of fifth graders, the fifth graders want to know that you care about them. Hey, how was your soccer game? Hey, how was Little League? Like,
Yeah,
those are the things that matter. It makes no difference if you're 10 or you're 35, right? You
exactly.
want to feel that you are welcome and cared for, and people have compassion for you.
Yeah, 100%. And then that's going to, some of the other points, enhance creativity and innovation. How many times good ideas come from our people, right? They come from the people that are engaged, the people that want to help the business. Everyone comes to work to do a decent job. Let's be clear. Sometimes we get in the way of that as business owners, as managers, whatever the case is. We get in the way of that because we bring our issues to the table, right? The business isn't doing as well. Our sales are down a little bit. So we go out the back there and we take it out on the dismantler. The dismantler saying, I'm taking the cars apart. I'm doing my best here. So we put them down. All of a sudden they're not feeling good about themselves. You know, if we're more aware of our our role, of ourselves, of how we respond to adverse conditions, right?
Yes,
And
aware of what we're putting out in the world.
correct, right? So our reactions will cause a reaction of some sort, right? So we need to
Mhm.
think about that. Now, if we're more positive to that, g'day, Johnny, how you doing? I've seen you've done 2 cars already today. Good work, mate. Excellent. That's all they want. That's all they're looking for. They're not looking
Mhm.
for, a, a poster or anything like that, or to be put on a pedestal. They just want some, positive reinforcement and to know that they're being noticed, right? To know that we
Absolutely.
appreciate what they're doing in the business. And guess what? I can guarantee you, Johnny or Joey or Harry or Lisa, who are taking those cars apart, are going to come to you with a really good idea next week and say, look, if I could get this tool, I reckon I could increase productivity by about 10%, right? Because they know what they're doing. They know what they need to do better than anyone, right? That's their job. That's what they do. So I think there's something in that for sure. Um, you know, decision
Could I
making.
talk about? Oh, sorry.
Go on, go on,
Could I
go on.
talk about our nervous system for a moment?
Absolutely.
Okay, so in terms of science, and maybe when we think of, if you have listeners that maybe are not sure about this meditation or slowing down, if we look at it in terms of science and we think about our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system, one being the fight and flight,
Right.
and one
Okay.
being rest and digest, right? So we have our fight and flight nervous system within us to keep us safe,
Yeah.
right? So if God forbid there's a animal coming towards us or someone is going to hurt, our fight and flight kicks in and our blood is running to our muscles and our heart is racing. That is all well and good when we're in trouble. But sadly, in today's world, studies show that because of the way the world is, and because of the way people are stressed in the world after COVID, all the violence in the world, many people, we don't have tigers or animals running after us, but many of us are stuck in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight. And when we're stuck in fight or flight, we are not ourselves. And I have notes too that I'm going to read. So when you're stuck in the sympathetic, even if you're eating well and sleeping well, you have exhaustion and fatigue because the blood is running through your muscles trying to get you going and keep you safe when it's not going through your organs and doing what it's supposed to. You have a slower metabolism. You have a poor immune system. You could get sicker. You have problems thinking. And you also snap much quicker. You have a short fuse.
Yeah.
So the idea of yoga and meditation, of slowing down, when you slow down and you take deep breaths, your body is reminded that you're safe. And then you have a shift within your body, and then you are in your rest and digest mode. And when you're in rest and digest mode, all those positive things that you had mentioned come through.
You know, I'm thinking about all this as you're saying. They're the basic things that we need to understand about ourselves, about our systems, right? And so many of us
Yes.
haven't been taught any of this, right? We don't.
No.
It's as I
So
said
sad.
before. I use the term foreign. It's quite foreign to the way we think. It's the last thing on our agenda, so to speak, right? And it shouldn't be. It should be the first thing on our agenda. And
It
as I said
really
before,
should.
yeah, as I said before, I'm guilty as anyone. So certainly want to try and use this session and take some of these learnings out um, and apply them. So I think that's really important. Claire, I know you do a lot of work with children, and you run the
Mhm.
children's yoga class, and they look like a lot of fun, to be honest with you. Um, challenging but fun. Anyway, um, have you ever thought of doing anything in the automotive recycling industry?
Oh
I know this is
my.
a really left field, but no, on a serious note, I
I
mean, URG, you were at URG, you're usually at ARA or whatever the case is. Why don't we try and do some kind of morning yoga class where whoever wants to come can come and just do whatever. Be part of the
Mhm.
class, learn a little bit. I don't know. I know it's a little bit
I,
out there.
I've had a few people
Yeah,
ask me if I would at some of the conferences, but I don't know if you remember one of the first times I met you. I don't know if it was in Canada.
Canada.
I think it was. And there was someone who raised their hand and talked about issues they were having. I forget who it was. And I said after to you and Rob and a few other people at the table, they need to do yoga. They need to meditate. And all of you looked at me like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
I think you're
And what
right.
would help them? It would solve the problem.
See, but that's the standard response you're going to get from us in this industry. And this is why I wanted to have this session because we need to talk about it, right? And
Yeah.
for those that are listening to this, those that are going to listen to this recording, I know you're lying down there. And if you're still listening, great, thank you. But you're going to be thinking, is this really for me? All I'm saying is it's probably worth a try. You go to the gym and try the gym out, doesn't work out, and you stop. You do try this fat diet, doesn't work out, and you stop. I think this is something that is of real value that is proven, scientifically proven to work. And I think there's value in Claire thinking about, right? And we haven't spoken about this before, so I'm just throwing this out there, but thinking about possibly doing a morning class at URG and or ARA coming up in, I think it's on October, and seeing how it goes, right? And it's, whoever wants to attend can attend. You can talk a little bit about it, and then you can do a half-hour little yoga session, some basic stuff there to help people just relax and
Mhm.
go into the day's sessions with a clear mind.
So, and yes, I will think on that. But I wanted to tell you when I do my kids' yoga, I incorporate children's literature, and I read a book that is called the title is When Sophie Gets Mad. And Sophie, when Sophie gets mad, she has to figure out how to calm down, right? She makes choices. We all make choices, and Sophie has to make a choice and learn how to calm down. And every yoga class I do with kids, I talk about peace. What does peace look like to you? Where is your peace? And I think it's extremely important for adults too, because I think adults get so caught up with adulting that they forget where their peace is. You need to know where your peace is. Where is your peace? If you are feeling anxious or horrible, where are you going to go to find peace? So we have several classes with my kids about this, and they slowly get to realize that they need to have a place. I go under my bed and I take my stuffed animal. They have all different places that they go. But you and I, as grown-ups, need to know how to get back to peace. And in a sense, peace is rest and digest.
Interesting. That, again, it's bringing it back to the basics of some of that. You teach the kids that, but a lot of
Yeah.
us don't do it as adults. You're right, 100%. So I'm not going to let that little bit go about ARA and doing some sessions there. I just had a really good idea. How about it was you and Rob at the front doing the teaching of the yoga?
Oh,
Think
I
about
like
that.
that.
I love that idea. So Rob can be up the
Good.
front there doing his thing, showing people all the different moves that he's learnt from you,
Yes,
and lead by
I
example. Lead by
like
example,
it.
Claire. What do you reckon?
I like it.
I like it. And I
I like
think,
it a lot.
even Rob's classes that he does, the first 5 minutes, let's take some
Yeah.
time. Claire jumps in.
Mhm.
The first 5 minutes of the class is about getting our mindset right.
Yeah. It's
So
very important.
I
It's
think,
very important to get your mindset right and set your intention.
yeah, absolutely. So again, I wanted to do this session because I think there's more to what we do on a daily basis than we understand is going to make a difference to the outcome of the individual mentally, and from a health perspective, the outcome of their business results, their productivity, and all that type of stuff that we spoke about earlier. But ultimately, it's about how we can help our teams, help ourselves first, and then help our teams be happy,
Mhm.
right? And happy can
Mhm.
mean a whole heap of different things. And whatever it means to you as an individual, we need to be conscious of what that is and how we're going to get there. And I think the mental health aspect of our world today, and I know there's a lot more awareness around it, but we still have a long way to go, especially in this industry. It's really not dealt with at all. Just being there and
I think
knowing
it's
for
got to
people to know that they can talk. So,
right. I think it has to be coming. I know that years ago, trying to guess how long it was. Years ago, I approached my administrator when I was still teaching, and I said, I'd like to do a mindfulness class. I'd like to do yoga. And this was before it was out there. And he looked at me and laughed and said, Are you kidding? Are you some kind of hippie?
God,
That's it. And now, every single presentation that's done in that school starts off with mindfulness. So it's
there you
coming.
go.
It's coming.
There you
Yeah,
go. You hippie, you Claire, I tell you.
that's
Okay,
right.
so we've spoken about a bit. I think it's been a really good session. I've enjoyed doing it. So thank you, Claire. But before we go, and I'm putting you on the spot here because we didn't rehearse any of this, right? We just came straight on. We had a quick chat 5 minutes before about how this will all come together, and then we've jumped straight into it. So this is out of left field as well for you. What are three things that listeners can do today without too much external help um, to help themselves?
Okay, three things. For one, I would say take time throughout your busy day to slow down. And I don't mean slowing down for hours at a time. I mean, maybe after lunch, after you eat lunch, you take just a minute or two by yourself, nice deep breaths, and just sit. Secondly, would be gratitude, would be starting your day and thinking about all the things that you're grateful for. Because continually being grateful and thinking about all the things you have, as opposed to the things you're still wanting, also helps your parasympathetic nervous system. So, slowing down, gratitude, and setting your intention for the day, each and every day.
Excellent. So I'm going to take those three things and I'm going to put them into practice and I'm going to email you next, well, it's Thursday morning my time. So next Thursday morning my time, Wednesday afternoon your time. And I'm going to let you know how I've gone with each of those
Mhm,
and whether I've been successful in at least putting them into practice. Because,
mhm,
you know, we go to conferences, we do all this type of stuff, we go and visit other facilities and we see a lot of things and we learn a lot of things, but often we don't put them into practice. So it's a waste. So the intention of these sessions is to have people like yourself on, Claire, that will talk to us about different things that we don't already know. And this is something that is pretty well out there for this industry. We don't know much about this at all, and I'm generalizing, obviously, but um, so it really means that we need to take some of this and put it into action. Um, so, Claire,
I
I
think that
think,
I think that routine is
yeah,
very important as well. As you had said earlier, with drinking water, eating your vegetables, whatever it is, routine is very important. In the morning, when you do set that intention, I have said to my friends, they'll say, "I set the intention and I never forget. I never remember it throughout the day." And I'll
yeah.
say, "Okay, here's an idea. Set your intention and get used to every time you grab your phone, put it down and think about the intention." And again, it takes time to get in that habit. But one of my girlfriends said, "Oh, I did it. I did it. Instead of grabbing the phone and looking at it, I sat for a minute and thought about my intention, how I wanted my day to be."
And
But
it's
it
and
takes
it's a habit, right? So it's going to be hard at the start. It's going to be hard to change that practice of waking up and picking up the phone to waking
yes,
up and not touching the phone.
right.
And I tell you now, it's going to be really hard for me because I'm usually going to bed with the phone and waking up with the phone. And I know it's not
Yeah,
good.
that's not good, Chris. That's
I
not
know
good.
it's not good. I
Mm-mm.
know it's not good. I know. And I still do it. But I know. And this is
I,
the crazy thing about it, right? And I've got all the excuses. Yeah, that's because I've got a lot of US customers that are there
I
overnight
know.
or a
I
UK
can
customer.
imagine we all have them. Yes.
So um, it's going to take some discipline and it's going to take some time to build that behavior because at the end of the day, it is a behavioral thing. It is a practice thing. You
Yes.
know, if we get used to doing something a particular way, and that's what we keep on doing. Okay, I'm used to now picking up the phone before I go to bed and when I wake up. I know it's not right. I know it's not good. So, anyways, that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to report back to you, Claire, and let you know how I'm going.
All
I
right.
want you to really think about doing that session at the conferences, and I want the likes of Sandy at ARA and Christy at URG to sort of take note of that and say, well, hold on, we have some people go to prayer sessions in the morning, while other people want to go to yoga, right, and do some of
Hmm.
the other stuff that they want to do. One's not better than the other, but it's horses for courses, whatever they want to do. So make it possible. I think it's really important to the industry, to the individuals within the industry, to be healthy both in body and in mind.
Hmm.
That's the key reason why I wanted to have this. I know it's out there, everyone listening. It's not something you've listened to before or heard before. You've heard me and Rob and Mike and all these other guys talk to you about different things, and you've probably heard the same things over and over again. I wanted to do something that's a bit different here today that's going to help the industry. Claire, thank you so much for
Thank you.
being part of it, for wanting to be on this call. I know that you want to sort of try and help as much as you possibly can. So thank you.
Yes. Can I say one thing before we close?
Absolutely.
I feel as though my reason for for my frozen shoulder, I thank my frozen shoulder for it. I believe that now I am put here to spread the goodness of yoga. I truly believe that yoga and meditation has a healing power. It makes us believe in who we are and realize the strength that we have in our minds and our bodies. So I know it may sound foreign, but I'm here to say I didn't believe either. And now I cannot imagine my life without it.
Excellent. I think that's a perfect closing, Claire. Again, thank you very, very much. And hopefully we can have another one of these.
All right. Have
Thanks,
a
Claire.
lovely evening.
You have a good night. I'm sure Rob's cooking an amazing dinner for you right now, right?
I'm sure he is. He's a very good
Yes.
cook, you know.
Is he?
He
What does he excel in?
Oh, what I love about Rob is he can just take ingredients and put it together, and it's amazing. I'm the one who like follows the recipe.
Yeah, I hate following recipes. I'm the worst with instructions. Give me one of
Yeah,
those
I'm better.
IKEA beds to put together, and I've got 15 bolts left over at the end of it because I haven't followed any instructions, but it seems to still stay together, even though I reinforce it with a bit of glue here and a few nails here and there, but it still works. Anyways, all right, Claire, again, thank you very much and appreciate your time this afternoon. Cheers.
Blessings.